Welcome, Crypto Gremlins. This is the Roy Blackstone Market Watch. So, I figured that this would be a good kind of series to do. Everyone kind of has this on their YouTube in some form or another. Basically, what they do is they go over the market, they talk about what they see going on, the goings on, and what they think is happening in the short term, medium term, long term, etc., price action, news, all of that interesting and fun stuff. So this will be, for me, I wanted to take a little bit of a different spin on it. I wanted to do something that was a little bit less technical analysis oriented and something that was more focused towards fundamentals, looking at the news really and seeing how that's affecting the price of Bitcoin and really seeing if there's any correlation at all between those kind of, those, we don't want to say black swan events, but those rare events that happen and the following price action. So personally, I'm not too great at technical analysis myself, but I do listen to other technical traders such as CryptoCred, CryptoPath, so on and so forth, who are very good at what they do. And so sometimes I will be bringing on a little bit of their knowledge and their expertise and talking about what they see in the markets and why. So today, I'm just going to do a little bit of a recap of Bitcoin price action and really what we've seen in the last 6 months, because what we've seen is, first of all, pretty sick. I mean, yeah, like, right, let's actually zoom out here on the daily chart. We were in absolute despair. Actually, let's look at the weekly. No, this is fine. We were in absolute despair here for the longest time. The end of 2018 was a complete disaster, even bigger disaster than the rest of the year, which was horrible as well. We broke that 6K level, which was sad to say the least, and we just completely dumped all the way down to $3,000. I remember people were having price predictions in the $1,000 range, $2,000 range. Some people, obviously, of course, the mega bears are saying Bitcoin has no value, it's going to zero. Obviously untrue, but you can't convince everyone, right? So we were having this price action that was pretty much a complete disaster for a very long time, and suddenly in March there was pretty low volume for the most part during here, and then all of a sudden we had this massive green candle up all the way up to $5,000. I think it was a 40% move, or it might have been a 50% move. It was pretty insane. We went all the way to 5,000, and we never really looked back. Everyone was kind of waiting for a pullback, and the pullback never really happened. If you weren't in Bitcoin at the time, you had a very small window, you see, to actually get into Bitcoin near the bottom, let's say. If you bought at $6,000 before the dump here, if you held, you're feeling pretty okay in hindsight, but if you were holding and it dropped all the way down to 3,000, you technically lost half your money at the time on paper. So even for you who bought at $6,000 with the price being where it is now, almost 12,000, you're still feeling the heat. You're still feeling the pain. And so I have my doubts as to how many people actually maintained their Bitcoin positions, how many people actually remained exposed to Bitcoin, how many people actually decided to seriously believe in this and think that the tech was going to win out in the end. And obviously we see that it did, but many people thought otherwise. Many traders were just out. Many traders decided they were just going to short and keep shorting, and they eventually got completely wrecked. So we broke that level. We never looked back. We had a little bit of a dip here down to $5,000, and then we went up again, massive spike, all the way up to $7,500, $8,000, which was insane. I know my friend Romano started trading around this time, and he was super lucrative with his trades. He was doing super leverage longs and making money hand over fist. And by the way, Romano, super great trader. I recommend you follow him on Twitter, at @RNR_0. He actually posts his position sizes. He posts his trades. He knows what he's doing. Listen to Romano. Great trader. So we had all of this price action. We were at the $8,000 mark, and we had this nice little spike down. But the interesting thing is that we broke the $6,000 level the first time we touched it. The very first time we touched that level, we broke right on through in that same daily candle. There was almost zero resistance there. Unlike what people were expecting, another time bears likely started shorting this thing and got wrecked. I mean, I would say bears absolutely got destroyed, especially looking at the volume here. A lot of bears decided to short that 6K level, and it made sense technically. It did make sense technically for them to short that level, but it didn't hold for the bears at all. We just crushed that level. And that was the first really big symbol that when that happened, everyone who kind of is worth their salt on Twitter and the crypto sphere was saying, the bull market's back, boys. The bull market is back. The money is back. The good times are going to roll yet again. And obviously, there were still a lot of people who were in disbelief. I think we're still seeing a little bit of disbelief even now, being at a 2 times higher valuation. But it was a glorious time, and everyone knew what was to come next, and everyone was kind of starting to prepare their leverage longs and getting in positions and getting ready. And even if they missed the $3,000 bottom or the $3,500 bottom, it's okay, because in a bull market, Bitcoin's just going to keep going up and up and up and up, and that's really what we've seen. So fundamentally speaking, I'm not particularly sure exactly what happened around April, that made that first initial spike up, but obviously it was a distressed. It was a coin. Bitcoin was an asset that was distressed for a long time. It was held down. It was pushed down by shorters. It was continually sold off by traders, and eventually, if the value of something is truly inherent, let's say Bitcoin is truly worth $10,000. For whatever reason, through whatever maths you decide that Bitcoin is worth $10,000. If sellers keep selling this asset at $5,000, eventually you are going to get that pop. It's almost like returning back to equilibrium. It's almost like stretching a rubber band. You can only stretch it so far before the thing snaps. And so people were stretching this rubber band, and then it snapped. Bitcoin went back. Some would say to where it rightfully deserved to be, which was, pumping. That's what Bitcoin does best. So I'm not entirely sure. I think probably the reason why that ended up happening, why we had that huge spike up and why we just crushed the 6K level completely, was really just because it was a distressed asset and people were selling it for really no reason other than it was being sold. So it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy there in many respects. And that was kind of why we started moving up. The second thing that I saw fundamentally as to why we continued this kind of push, because normally if you're going to move back to equilibrium, it's a move back to the mean. That doesn't really necessarily mean that a bull market is back. Really, what you're looking for is a lot more demand, a lot more market, mainstream media talking about this asset, so on and so forth. And what did we have around June 18th? Here's a TechCrunch article. June 18th, Facebook plans June 18th cryptocurrency debut. Here's what we know. So I'm not going to read that article. I just wanted to read the headline. But the important thing is that essentially Bitcoin now has a competitor in the form of Libra, the Libra cryptocurrency. And I'm going to make a lot of videos on Libra. I'll probably do a few Blackstone speaks on that. And of course, I'll probably do, even whenever Libra releases, I'll probably do some kind of upkeep videos, so on and so forth. News videos related to it. But Libra is really a Bitcoin competitor. And as we all know, even the worst possible news that you can possibly create or come up with is always good for Bitcoin. Anything is good for Bitcoin. ETFs denied, China banned, the blockchain doesn't work, Craig Wright is insane, whatever, it's all good for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to pump on that news regardless. That's always what it's done historically, funnily enough, and that's what it's going to keep doing. So the Libra news is good for Bitcoin. Libra was announced June 18th. And what I think fundamentally happened is, because Facebook announced Libra as this cryptocurrency, and they announced, yes, we're going to be moving into blockchain, we're going to be moving into the decentralized world, even though their coin is pretty centralized. Talk about that later. Even though those things are true, Libra is still a move by Facebook into this cryptocurrency space. So what does that do? The big thing it does is it legitimizes Bitcoin. That is the big important thing. It legitimizes Bitcoin. It makes it this valuable asset now all of a sudden that is more than just something used by speculators. It's more than just something that's used by criminals and thieves. I mean, that narrative really is like an old narrative that really holds no water, because, to be honest, USD has a lot more usage by criminals and thieves than Bitcoin. But that was kind of what the mainstream media had thought of it. Thought Bitcoin was this kind of weird cypherpunk money that only criminals used, which is completely wrong, but it is what it is. But the move by Facebook legitimized it. And so what I think fundamentally what ended up happening is, right after that announcement, a lot of money started coming in. a lot of tether started getting printed, a lot of new market participants started coming in, and this basically moved the price up day after day after day after day, all the way up until we saw the top was around $14,000. So Bitcoin went from $3,000, a meager $3,000, to $14,000 in this time span of, let's see here, this was March, so April, May, June. So in about 4 months, it went up about 4 times its price, almost 5 times its price. That is insane. It is absolutely insane. The interesting thing was that 6K, whenever it was broken the first time, we never saw it again. We never saw 6K again. The lowest we saw was this massive wick here, which was quite bullish, really, because a wick like this is really quite something to behold. Usually you see a wick like this and it's over. It wasn't over. Actually, the pump wasn't even started. So it went down all the way to 6,400, 6,500 roundabout. Never saw 6K again. That level has been crushed. 10K, the same exact thing happened. We went to 10K, completely crushed it. Bears were expecting to hold the line there. They couldn't hold the line there. It was completely a disaster for those guys. It was a little bit weaker this time because even though in the case of 6K, we did see 6K, or we never saw 6K again. In the case of 10K, we did go back down below 10K recently. We went all the way back down to 9,700 USD. So it's a little bit of a weaker rally compared to 6K. Now that's more of an abstraction, really, just kind of something that I've noticed. It doesn't really mean anything particularly, but it's something to keep in mind. Certainly, it was a lot stronger, the 6K break, than the 10K break. The question I think that is on everyone's mind right now is, will we see below 10K again? So now I've kind of given you the recent history of Bitcoin. Now we're going to talk about this week's market segment. So I'm going to move to the 4-hour chart here. We're going to zoom in a little bit. The question that is on everyone's mind, are we going to see below 10K again? So we saw it one time here at $9,700. Are we going to see it again? I have seen various people on Twitter who are experts say that it will happen. I've also seen the majority in polls say that it's not going to happen, that it's not going to see below 10K ever again. And I think it is an interesting kind of divide there between the crowd and what the professionals are saying and the experts. So most of the crowd says we're never going to see it again. We're never going to go below 10K. We did it one time. We're never going to see it again. All of the traders that I'm talking to, so now I'm going to give you a little bit of the gems of people who I talk to in my network. So CryptoPath, CryptoCred, Alistair Milne, Trader Main, all of these VCs that I talk to, pretty much all of them who actually trade assets, are relatively convinced that we are going to see below 10,000 yet again. They are pretty bearish on the asset in the short term. And so again, this is never financial advice. You've heard this a million times in a million different other channels. But what I'm hearing is that it's going to be, it's generally a bearish outlook by the professionals and a more bullish outlook by the majority, by the crowd. Personally, I'm flat right now. I've traded this whole run up and it was pretty great. I got chopped a little bit here, and once the chop started happening, I was like, I'm out. I'm not playing this. And so I've been seeing a lot of people get chopped up in these markets. Again, it's hard to say what could happen. Obviously, it could go up, it could go down, right? But the best bet people can generally make, instead of telling you it could go up or it could go down, is actually seeing what they are doing with their money. Personally, what I'm doing with my money is I see the chop. I see that this is essentially untradeable. We're kind of in this weird range, right, in between 12K and 10K around about. This is this range that we're kind of going up and down in. And it's just untradeable right now for me personally. I don't really know. Like, do you see a long opportunity here? Do you see a short opportunity? It's very difficult to say. And so I'm personally flat. So that's basically the best kind of endorsement I can give in terms of saying, oh, should you long or should you short? I don't know. I'm flat. So take that with a grain of salt. Again, fundamentally speaking now, so we're moving away from the TA again, back to the fundamentals. The reason, you have to look at the reason why we broke this level. So the reason we went up here, there was a lot of people leverage longing. Yes, that's kind of why we had this parabolic advance. But the reason this started in the first place, again, keep it in mind, go back to the basics, is because of Libra being announced, legitimizing Bitcoin. And I see this as several institutional investors deciding that they wanted to get in. So look at the amount of price appreciation we have seen from June 18th, from about $9,000 all the way up to a peak of $14,000, about 50%. This is exactly what institutional FOMO looks like, period. This is what it looks like. This is not players who have been in the market for a long time. This is not people who have been trading. This is not retail money. This is smart money. This is institutional FOMO. These are big players. These are people with hundreds of millions of dollars who are looking at Libra, who are looking at Facebook and realizing, yes, Bitcoin is a true force to be reckoned with. If Libra by Facebook is a coin, it is now competing directly with Bitcoin. Well, maybe I also want to take a bet with Bitcoin against Facebook in case it doesn't work. Or maybe I want to play the hype. Maybe I want to play the market, the short term. Who knows? But the point is this is exactly what institutional FOMO looks like. We talked about this a lot. You've seen this. If you have been a crypto trader from around 2016, 2017, people, and even 2018, a lot of the huge memes that went around all the time was institutional FOMO. Everyone's going to FOMO in, billions on the sideline, investors are lining up. And it was obviously, it didn't happen because it was mainly just retail FOMO. It was a retail bubble. This, again, this is what institutional FOMO looks like. It looks like this. It looks like this crazy run up. Now, the parabolic advance is a lot of retail, degenerate traders just going and 100xing. Yes, that's the reason why we've had this crazy run up and the crazy run down. But it wouldn't have been sparked. It wouldn't have started without first the initial kind of pump from the new money being injected into the markets. So, if institutional FOMO is the reason we went to 14,000, it's a very difficult thing to say that institutional FOMO will continue because it's completely up to the whims and desires of the individuals who have all this money. So you can't really TA that. You can't fundamentally know whether someone is going to buy something or not. The idiosyncrasies of individuals, especially in the case of Bitcoin, which is such a small asset class, is very, very relevant. So you can't really long here and expect and say, well, the institutional FOMO will continue. You don't really know that. You don't really know if that was it for the institutional FOMO. So it's always difficult to say. It's difficult to say, but I think the general outlook is short term. I would say I probably am going to side with the professional traders and say I'm a little bit bearish on it. Again, I'm flat because we could go up. Who knows, right? If we break $12,000, that would be great. Super bullish. I would love it if we could. I would definitely be longing. I'm starting to do some leverage trading of my own on Deribit. By the way, I should include my Deribit referral link. If you don't use Deribit.com to trade your Bitcoin derivatives, well, you need to use it right now and get 10% off with my referral code. I don't know if they offer 10% off, but I'm going to include my referral link anyway. Click it. So if it goes above 12,000, I'm almost definitely going to be longing it. But for now, it's just kind of ranging, and so I'm not interested. So that's really all I have for now. I will be back next Monday, with another market update video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. I really like talking more about the fundamentals of things and why things happen rather than looking at the TA specifically. I know there's a million other channels on YouTube that talk about the TA and talk about it hit this level and it hit this support and so on and so forth. And I like to talk about that too, but I generally like to talk about the why of that, of the moves, the reason and the motives behind those moves. So please leave a comment, leave a like if you liked the video, dislike it if you disliked it, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you like this stuff, and I will be doing more next time.